Hey everyone, Kyle Meinke here from MLive&apos, joined by Justin Rogers, back for another round of OTAs on Thursday. Justin, and we've seen 2 days now. They've had 2 weeks, 6 full sessions, and we've seen two of them. Among those two sessions, who's the guy who stood out to you maybe the most?
A guy that just keeps catching my eye. He's getting some extra reps right now because a couple guys are being rested. Is Tahir Whitehead. That was a linebacker that didn't do a whole lot his first 2 years outside of special teams. Really got an opportunity last year, and he just looks natural, more comfortable. Like he expects his playing time to be there this year. He's popping on special teams drills. He's running with the first team defense. He's added some weight. Like he needs more muscles. He's got more muscle mass. He's playing about 245 as he's converting into that strong side role. And I don't know. I think this might be a really nice year coming up for Tahir Whitehead.
To be clear, he's run with the first unit while Stephen Tulloch and DeAndre Levy aren't doing team stuff right now. So that'll be an interesting battle between him and Tulloch there in the middle, I think. But
I think it'll be more between him and Van Noy on that strong side.
Yeah. I think if he loses that battle, I think Whitehead is the obvious replacement behind Tulloch, or at least to back him up. But I think it'd be in the plans because he played pretty well last year. I agree with you. He's looked good, and it's good to see that growth, and it'll be interesting to see how the Lions can shoehorn him into the defense. My biggest surprise that I've seen, and he's a guy we've talked about ad nauseum for a couple of years now, so it's kind of weird to think of him as a surprise. But Ryan Broyles, he's a guy who obviously went in the second round a few years ago, and you have big expectations for him. But he's just been cast aside between the injuries and being a healthy scratch last year. He just hasn't been, part of things really. But this OTA, he's been one of the more impressive receivers to me. He's caught pretty much everything that's come to him. Made a couple of nice little grabs along the sideline today. I couldn't really tell if he was in or out. But
he was out of bounds on both of them. But
was he?
Yeah.
From my angle, I couldn't tell, but he pulled in both balls, and he made a couple of really, I thought, spectacular catches last week. He was even better last week, I thought. But he's looked real impressive, and I like what he's shown. He seems to be even crisper in his route running. He seems more assertive, and I talked to him after practice today, and it's unsurprising what he said, but he said that he's just more comfortable because he doesn't even have to think about rehab anymore. He was healthy last year, but he had to rehab going into the season. It was something he had to think about. It took him some time to get back to full strength, and even once he got there, he had to think a lot about the Achilles and just staying healthy. Whereas now, he's just playing. And in the offseason, when he goes to his workouts, he can just focus on getting better at football and getting more explosive. There's nothing with the injury now. And I think that you do see that comfort level settling in for him.
To go back really quick to those two sideline catches, one was an out route, a mid-deep out route. The ball was just a little wide. It was a really fast throw, and he pulled it in. Couldn't get both feet down. The other one was a deep pass, which he tracked over his shoulder and caught it over his shoulder. It was a very impressive catch. Again, second foot didn't stay in. I don't think it was any fault of his own. It's just so interesting talking to those guys that are coming back from injuries, and they say all along, I'm not thinking about it, but with how much they're asked about it, we're part of that. It's our job.
Yeah.
But there's no way they're not thinking about it, and now that he is actually 2 years removed, he probably can look back retroactively and say,
right.
Maybe it was in my head a little bit. It'll be interesting from the coaching staff's perspective. They made us feel that he was a Golden Tate insurance policy last year, that he couldn't do anything else but play exactly what Golden Tate did. It never made any sense to me. I think you find ways to get your best players on the field. Is Ryan Broyles one of the best players? I don't know, but I'd like to see him get an opportunity to show his skills.
I asked him one time a year or two ago, if you could just not hear one question ever again from idiots like us, what would it be? It took him about a quarter of a second to respond, which was, what percent are you? What percent are you? Just speaking to the injury thing, and that is when you go through that cycle, you're always asked about it. If you're a Waddle or a Broyles or some of these guys who have had extended injury circumstances, it's every time you talk to the media, it's how you feel and how's the whatever, what percent are you, how close are you? So that does wear on the guys, and I think it just feeds into the cycle of rehab and how annoying it is for these guys and the psychology that goes into it. Now all that stuff's behind them, until I asked him about the injury, of course. But that's behind him.
Sure.
I'm not sure where he fits in because, again, he was a healthy scratch last year. He is the Golden Tate insurance policy, and guess what? Golden Tate is back, and Golden Tate's definitely going to be on the field. So Broyles is, I think, for the first time, legitimately fighting for his job this offseason. T.J. Jones is back and healthy. You've got Lance Moore, who was signed. Corey Fuller is still in the mix. Jeremy Ross. All these guys are fighting for basically 2 jobs or so. And so it'll be he's legitimately fighting for a job, I think, for the first time, and it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
It's about $1 million in cap savings if they do cut him. People aren't really thinking about cap savings at this time of year, but it does matter because you got like the rollover minutes. The cap space does roll over to the next year what you don't use, so there is some value there. I was talking with another writer on the sidelines today that Bentley and Broyles are 2 guys that are on the bubble. It's really early, but they're guys that you can identify now as on the bubble. Well, if both those guys don't make the team, we've talked about the 2010 draft class being a bomb, the 2011 draft class bombing. Suddenly you're left with just Riley Reif and Tahir Whitehead from that 2012 draft class, and so suddenly that's looking really bad because Ronald Lewis obviously flamed out. Greenwood and Jonte Green are gone. You'd lose Broyles and Bentley, so that would be 3 draft classes in a row, and it's obviously not hurting them right now, but that's something that you can't keep stacking bad draft class on bad draft class on bad draft class.
Bentley is in a contract year with no guaranteed money, so if he doesn't win that job against Quandre Diggs and Nevin Lawson, 2 draft picks in the past couple of years, and the other guys who are at that spot, including Josh Wilson, the veteran, Bentley could be on his way out too. That's a guy who's definitely, I think, on the roster bubble and has some work to do to make the team. We'll be back. That's it. That's all we have for this week. One more week of OTAs next week.
Yep.
They'll go Monday through Thursday. We'll be back here on Wednesday for media availability. For Justin Rogers, I'm Kyle Meinke. We are MLive. Keep her here.